Hello. Hello and welcome to my game dev live stream. This is number, let's see, what was it? 45. Just a few more days and we'll be at 50. That'll be an exciting milestone. So, I finished up the respawning feature yesterday, so now I'm working on audio design. I've already started on this a little bit, and mostly was just doing research and reading up on different programs I can use and stuff like that. I think my decision is going to be to use LMMS as my digital audio workstation, or DAW. I can pull it up. Maybe we can do a demo here. Hello JGP, AGP, BTRF, thank you for joining. So you can, in this app, you can lay out your tracks like this, and each track is like a different instrument. And this is just an example demo song that comes with the program. So you can see where certain things are coming from by highlighting specific tracks. So like I can solo this one. You hear that bass is coming from there. And this one here is playing something. Oh, I guess that doesn't play anything on its own. It affects other things, I think. Don't know exactly how that works. This one's like a melody or something. You can click on this to see what it is. Comes with some general things here. There's a few other demo programs here, like there's this one. That's really loud. So those are some demo songs or whatever some people have come up with, and a beat here, you can, like if you have like these beats here, you can go and click on it and it opens up this other window, which lets you just test out the beat. And then you can click on these boxes to see how it's going to be different. So I can add in some claps here. can also clear everything out of here and start my own. No, Drew Spinky, unfortunately, you're not first. JJP, AGP, BTRF was here first. And then when I go and edit the beat here, it'll automatically replace what's in here. So, anyways, that's LMMS, and you can have a new project here, and it comes with some stuff. It's got a beat baseline on it. And it's got a triple oscillator on here, and the triple oscillator I think do different presets on here. Maybe not. Ah, that's so loud. No way to expect how loud this stuff is going to be. Unfortunately, all these things like this sound very, well, they sound very electronic. So over here I have two things. I have my presets, and then I have my samples, and it comes with this. And there are things like drums. So I can put this bass drum into here, into this beat line. There's other things in here. This is like a drums folder, so I got like snare. I can throw a snare in there. It doesn't sound very good. So there's drums, and then there's things like there's a folder for instruments, and there's different ones in here. I've got like cello, church organ. I've got a flute, harpsichord, a violin. So I can add that into here. I think I can even put, so like this, there's a violin pizzicato, which is this like very plucked one. But then I think I can even add in things like this. I just don't know how good it's gonna sound. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, but it's very funny. Now, if you don't want to have it on a beat or bass line like this, you can add it directly into here, and then you can double click on here and you can play it like a piano. So you can choose a, well, I don't quite know how this works. This is a, you can choose a chord and a scale. I don't know chords very well. I feel like there should be letters in here like B. There's major B5. Let's see, what is this?
Awesome. Do I have some nuts?
Yeah. Peanuts?
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah, just one. These are good.
Yeah, very.
They're really good. They kind of make you want to party. They make me want to party. I feel like partying right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I see the resemblance. um, I don't know what any of these are. Major B5. C, D, E. That sounds awful. Even just that one by itself sounds awful. What are these chords? I really don't know what any of these are. Back to no chord. Anyways, a lot of these still sound kind of bad. Then there's some really silly things in here like raving crowd or applause. Or this guy saying bass.
Bass. Bass. Bass. Bass.
Kind of want to put that into to here. There's more strings over here, choirs. Oh, that sounds exactly like Forever Young. What note is that playing by default? Is that a chord? You think this is E flat? I already suck at reading piano and gotta make it even harder by putting it vertically. I'm sure that there's a way to get it to go the other way, but C, D, E flat? No, that's too low. Sounds like this one. C, D, E flat? No, that's too high. Pretty sure it's this one. Pretty sure that's the same, which is a G or an F. C, D, E, F, G. A. That's A. Am I in cleft? I don't know. So the notes are too strong. It needs to be half. There's got to be some way to make it fall off better. I don't know. A lot of things to learn here. Anyways, this is definitely the sound of Forever Young. So that one sounds pretty good. Then there's also my presets, which is more things like nothing that sounds super realistic though. I mean, the drums all sound pretty good. Whoa, that was awful. That was an awful sound. Then there's this big one here called Zin Add Sub FX, and this has got more things. So it's got like bass and brass under here, but none of these brass really sound like a real instrument either. Whoa, I hadn't opened this one yet. Is that the phone? Oh, there's a lot in this one. There's a folder here called guitar. None of these really sound like very guitar-y. Is this one here called Oliver's? Oliver's 100. And this has got a bunch of flute-sounding things. But something I can do is I can download additional presets and sounds and stuff. Like this is some Music Radar, a bunch of free music sample downloads, and I don't know if there's like instruments in here. It's a huge list. Guitar samples. Anyways, I have a lot to learn here, but I think I don't need to. What was, Julius Pinky, what was your last comment regarding? A loud noise. Oh. Yeah, they're all very, very different audio levels. I think in order to make these do the thing I want, I have to add on reverb. Maybe this will do reverb. I don't know. color. What is this even talking about? So I'd say I've decided. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to have to figure out, I'm going to have to find, I think they're called VSTs. So there's also this thing called a sound font, which is might be more what I'm thinking of. Well, anyways, I don't want to get bogged down in it. Done with that. Now I want to go do some. I'm gonna close out of LMMS, so I'm not tempted to go keep messing with it. I'll do a viewer mini game here in like I'll do one in like 20 minutes. On the clock, 20 minutes. I want to research the music that was listened to during the Roman Empire. So I'm going to open up OneNote and I'm going to go to Audio Design tab. Move that over to here. Historical reference. Roman music, Imperium Romanum. Roman music, also available in Polish if we want to read this in Polish. Three Roman musicians. Got someone with a little drum here. Got someone with the... I don't know what they're called when they're that small. Mini cymbals. And then over here, this guy's got some sort of flute deal going on. Don't know what this dude's doing. Looks like a child, maybe. Music was a part of ancient Roman culture from the earliest times. The same situation was occurring in Greece. Most pieces of their culture were taken exactly from the Greeks. There was no difference in the case of music. Roman music is still not well known, despite many archaeological and written records. Historical sources do not reach far into the past. The oldest are from the 3rd century BCE, which is recent enough for my game. It takes place in like 80 AD. Nowadays, researchers are trying to show the difference between Greek, Roman, and Oriental music. They emphasize the big importance of Etruscan tradition, according to military music and wind instruments. This dude's on a big horn. This guy's on some sort of flute or piano deal where it's like got the different tones and he can play it. Unclear what these people are doing. I don't know how much of this I can listen to without getting caught by the copyright automation stuff. Anyways, I'll play it, and if I have to cut it out of my YouTube video, that'll be fine. Might be a good idea to also look up Egyptian musical instruments because they shared similar time periods and regions. There's an interesting wind instrument in there that sounds like bagpipes. What could that be? Let's keep reading. Many habits widespread now in Romanesque nations refer to practices found in ancient Romans and maybe even earlier funeral ceremonies. The tradition of juglares, according to which mimes, acrobats sang epic songs. In contrast to many cultures, for example, Near East one, Romans didn't develop so-called ethics theory, in which music elements as rhythm, melody, and even particular instruments have proper ethos, which means an expression which has an effect on the listener's soul. Moreover, there was poor faith in magical music power. Musical practice had rather a utility character. Nevertheless, musicians stand in a lofty position in society and gain the patronage of emperors. In ancient Rome, there was a distinction between artistic and folk music, just like in Greek music accompanied poetry and drama forms like mimes or Atellan farces. Climate was favorable for playing and singing in an open space. In Rome, tragedy as a form of poetry didn't earn any popularity, but comedy gained big fame, which was a mix of dialogues and popular songs. Folk music was performed on the streets in big cities. There also existed music connected with spectacles, theater, and games. Entertainment music accompanied. Roman used proper instruments and music sounds signifying offensive, retreat, or victory. Functional conditions were so strong that these sounds were used even to put the enemy in terror. Another kind of music was associated with celebrations and military triumphs. Integral part of almost every social occasion was the performance of this song. Exemplary during Ludi Secularis, Roman celebration of New Age's beginning, on order of the Emperor Octavian Augustus in 17 BCE, a mixed children choir performed a song of Horace, Carmen Seculare. Under Greek influence in Rome, started to think, it's translated from Polish, so I'm struggling here a bit. Oops. Under Greek influence, Rome started to think music presents a cosmic order and is closely related to math and knowledge. Music appeared during spectacles called pantomimes, which were an early form of ballet history consisting of vivid dance, playing instruments, and singing libretto. It is not for sure if Romans used music records. If they were using it, they took it surely from Greeks. There were 4 letters. In Polish, they are A, G, F, and C, which corresponded to the next series of sounds. Above the letters, the rhythm was marked, which determined the length of each tone. For our times, preserved many more Greek records than Roman. Ancient Romans appreciated music, which played a big role in their lives. Music was practiced and developed because, according to their feelings, it was a form of education. What's more, tunes accompanied all religious ceremonies. They organized also music competitions, in which, according to the reports, took part even during Nero's reign, I guess. I don't know. The rest of the sentence didn't make sense. For this purpose, he traveled all the way to Greece. Roman music was monophonic. Let's define that. So it seems like one instrument is playing what is this ad gonna be?
This is the world's first reusable cotton swab. It can remove up to 10 times more earwax.
The words we use to talk about texture are sometimes a little bit complicated and daunting, but they're much easier to remember if we work out what the words actually mean. So the first type of texture that we're going to have a look at is something called a monophonic texture. And there you go, that's an example of one of these slightly long and daunting words that we will come up against when we look at texture in music. So what does monophonic mean exactly? Well, let's break this down into two chunks. Let's look at first mono. Now, mono means, just like mono sound, if you remember, well, maybe you don't remember, but before stereo and before Dolby surround sound, we used to have mono, and that meant that there was one source of sound coming to you, and that's what mono means. It means one. And the other part of the word, this phonic bit, this bit here, just like telephone, phonic means sound. So if we put these two bits together, monophonic really means one sound.
Wow. Incredible.
A monophonic texture is probably one of the simplest textures that we're going to come across in any type of music, because just as the name suggests, it's made up of one sound or one melody. And so, say someone was singing a simple song by themselves or playing a tune on a flute or a violin, chances are the music they would be creating would be monophonic. In other words, the music only has one strand that we can grasp onto. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a soloist. We could have lots of different people singing the same thing, and that would also be monophonic as a texture. Some of the earliest music is monophonic. If we think back to how music really got started, it was mostly monks chanting to mark important moments in religious services and special times of the religious calendar. And the way they would do this would be to use a very...
What? Hell are monks? No, not the life expectancy of a monk. When was the first monk? I'm just totally skeptical of what this dude just said about music coming from monks. That doesn't sound right.
simple chant melody.
Monks could be as old as the religion of Buddhism, sure, but this page here, talking about the history of monasticism. The first monks before 600 BC, well, that's not even that old. 600 BC, the Greeks were way before that. They had music, obviously.
To sing some important text from scripture. Now, as time moved on, composers wanted to break away from just having such a simple monophonic texture to their music, and they wanted to start to add other things into the mixture. Once we start doing that, we end up with some different textures.
I'm trying to figure out how to best emulate this style.
To add other things into the mixture. Once we start doing that, we end up with some different textures.
Okay. I mean, in this article I was reading right here, they start talking about what instruments they use. Roman art presents different wind instruments, percussion, and stringed instruments. From instruments, the most known and used by soldiers were trumpets and horns, especially trumpets made from bronze or wood covered with skin. Romans were playing on bronze trumpet during their victory, on a wooden one during their retreat. There were known also horns made from bronze in the shape of a semicircle. Hydraulic organs, pan flutes, bronze trumpet, victory, wooden trumpet, retreat. Alright, time to do a mini game. We'll do guess the number. So, if you're watching right now and you want to join in the mini game, we're gonna guess what number I'm gonna roll. It's gonna be number 1 through 20. So go ahead and put in your guess now. You get one guess. If you put in more than one, I'll take your first guess. I'll roll, and then whoever's closest is gonna score 500 points. If you're watching, now's the time to join in. Guess your number now. Alright, says I got 2 viewers right now, but no one's responding, so we'll go back to work. They're talking about aerophones. What is an aerophone? play pan flute. I was kind of right. There is this thing, bagpipe type sound. Escales.
This music is the property of David Marshall.
Mosaics show instruments which look like a mix of pipes and organs. Pipes were chosen to create many scales of sound known in Greece. We don't know for sure if Romans played on them by blowing or in a different way. Hydraulic organs, in which the water pressure was applied, were the most significant technical and musical achievements in ancient times. That sounds pretty cool. De Niro played on a hydraulic organ. Oh yeah, this is kind of the thing that I saw in that one painting. Here, this thing. It like chopped off the part where they got the water and stuff, but percussion. Okay, that's enough research about that. So I need to decide how realistic I want the sound effects to be. So I want the sound effects for the game to sound dramatic and fantastical, but not unnatural or electronic. For example, a punch sound effect should sound impactful and big, but not just to say period. It should be recorded in high quality and not downsampled into an 8-bit style. I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's learn about music chords. Learn music theory in half an hour. Whoa. Wow.
Are you looking to make music and podcasts? Well, look no further.
No.
Soundtrap is the perfect tool for you. Soundtrap is...
Hey, it's Andrew Huang.
Whoa. How do you do that? Hold on.
Hey, it's Andrew Huang.
Whoa. Here we go. Notes, chords, major and minor, the number system, inversions, melodies, and rhythm.
Just a little bit of context for this video. It is a complete walkthrough of the basics of music theory in half an hour. Also sprinkled throughout are some exercises that you can do that will help you internalize these concepts, because once they're in here, once they're natural to how you operate, it's like a superpower. You'll be able to come up with more ideas, you'll be able to work faster, the things that are in your head, you'll just be able to do. It's magic. I love music theory. I'm a huge nerd. I actually made this video as a piece of bonus content for my online class, which you can find out more about at learnmonthly.com/.
How to make music for my game.
If you want to know how to make a modern video game soundtrack by only using free instruments and sounds, stick around, because this video is going to show you how to make this track from the very beginning, including all kinds of techniques you can be applying yourself. If you do need some free instruments, check out the card on the top right.
When you come from Splice and you have all the perfect sounds and you have all the perfect plugins, people don't have to do the grind.
If you're looking for some free synthesizers to make trance music with, I pulled together 3 of the best.
Best free realistic instrument, VST.
If you're looking for free virtual instruments that can be used for composing orchestral or realistic music, these 5 plugins will help you do just that. And all but one will work on both Windows and Mac. But I do mention an alternative for the one that doesn't. Stick around, these are some pretty good options, and I've made examples of how each one sounds too. Hey everyone, Jake from Transverse Audio here. Before I get into the first one, I want to let you know that there is a bonus sound library for orchestral drums at the end of the video that you can get for free. The download links are also in the description below.
Do all VSTs work with all DAWs? Okay.
With that aside, let's get into it. The first one I want to mention is Spitfire Labs, a great resource to get free orchestral instruments, and they add a new one every month. At least that's what they say. So hey, save the video and check back in a couple months. They might have a few new ones available. From this, you can use an array of different instruments like strings, guitar, piano, and choir that all sound great. Each instrument allows you to control expression, dynamics, and reverb. Let's listen to how they sound. The next instrument I'd like to highlight is Cloud Drum by Ample Sound. This one sounds pretty cool and is quite...
Okay, what was that first one?
Of instruments, free and Labs is an infinite series of instruments, free and easy to use. Organic textures, synth strings, guitar harmonics, pipe organ, tape orchestra, percussion, made by musicians for musicians. For anyone, anywhere. And did we mention? It's free.
So I wonder why it's free. But whatever.
Hi, this is Ben from Spitfire's Customer Experience team. I'm here to explain the install process for our Labs instruments. So here I am on spitfireaudio.com and I'll click on Labs. I'm going to get the soft piano and I just click Get. I'm posing as somebody that's never been to our website before, so I'm going to join Labs here to create an account on the site. And I can click here to join the Labs newsletter. Click Join Labs and we've created an account. Next it's going to ask us if we've got the Spitfire Audio app. As I'm a new user, I don't, so I'm going to say no. Here it'll allow us to install the app. I'm on a Mac, so I click Install App for Mac OS X. If I was on Windows, Windows would be up here. So we can see the .dmg file download.
this app and install it like we talked about. Someone I know is playing Elden Ring. Oh, these are huge. Holy crap. I didn't realize this one's 1.3 gigabytes, 2 gigabytes. Wow. So doing cello, quartet, bass guitar, choir, drums. Organic textures, pedal pads, peel guitar, percussion, piano pads, pipe organ, rare groove piano, strings 2. Tape orchestra. I don't know. So, ordered by most popular, we have Christmas. And then glass piano. Scary string sounds really cool. Yeah, dulcimer. It's definitely what I want. These all sound really good. These all sound way better than the stuff that came in LMMS by default. I hope I can figure out how to use these in LMMS. No.
Modern applications are getting more
Loading down here. So I'm just going to open that, and as instructed here, drag the Spitfire Audio app into my applications folder. Now that's done, I can actually launch it from here and log in. Now that I've logged into the Spitfire Audio app, I just need to come back to the website, click Next, and download. Click to open the Spitfire Audio app. It's taking me to this page where it's asking me where I want to install the instrument that I've just asked for. So select where to install it here. The default location is displayed, and we can change where it's installed by clicking here. Click Install to start the download. You'll see an indication here of how far into the process it's got, and you can click on Downloads to view this and any other downloads that you've got going on at any one time. Once that process is finished, you're good to go, launch your DAW, and it should be available for you to use. Have a look at the other videos below this one to show how to launch Labs instruments in various DAWs. Please feel free to contact us at spitfireaudio.com/support if you have any problems at all. Thanks.
So that's cool. I don't really know if I care about having any of the rest of these. This one on its own seems really cool. Let's see if I can use some of these instruments now. This be under my presets. Import. Maybe how to open Spitfire Labs in LMMS. Already sounds a lot better. I don't know.
Hey everyone, Jake from Transverse Audio here. This will show you my process on making a soundtrack from scratch. Let's start this track with some percussion. To get a more crunchy kick, I can play another one in a lower octave from the same sample. It's important to offset transients like this, so there won't be any phasing issues. If you do make an offset, remember to trim off the end so it will loop properly too. To liven up the drums a bit, I'll add some subtle reverb to the snare and keep the decay time low for other elements. For the hats, adding some delay that rolls off quickly with it set to ping pong can really help move the rhythm and make it interesting as it bounces between left and right. It's a good idea to adjust the mixer levels as you go because it is in this moment that you have the vision of how you want it to sound. You may forget about it later. If there is some space at the beginning of the pattern and you want to duplicate it over, right-click and drag out a loop section on the bar counter and copy and paste. This will keep the proper spacing at the beginning.
All you do in your DAW, whatever DAW it is literally just drag and drop.
We can drag one of these chord progressions in. Boom, just like that. It's a vibe.
A good way to make subtle effects throughout your drum loops is by sweeping a light sound by changing velocity and panning to keep it moving. Adding some reverb to this will help it sit even further back in the mix, making it more ambient. To make those epic movie trailer horns, you can take a rough synth patch and drown it in reverb. You'll see me using a lot of reverb in the soundtrack, but it's important to keep a balance of sounds that do and do not use this effect, or a low amount of it at the very least. Putting this on absolutely everything can destroy the dynamics. I'm also going to tune the hats a bit to sound better with what we have so far. Now for a leading instrument. Adding some light distortion to a pad can give it an electric guitar feel while maintaining its synthy sound. It's important to use this effect with subtle
flash and
To start, first create a new folder, called Plugins. You can create anywhere but the LMMS directory. I'd suggest to create just outside the LMMS directory.
just working on. Seems like the way that I got the VST thing into here before was not the right way to do it, so I'm messing with this.
Directory folder. In that folder create two folders, VST and VSTI. VST are those plugins that are used as effects, while VSTI are the instruments that run in Vestige. VSTI are loaded manually, so this is only for VST. After creating the folders, open LMMS and go to Settings. Choose Paths and you'll find many directories here, where you have to go to the VST plugin directory and locate the VST folder. Restart LMMS and you're done. Thanks for watching.
Hello and welcome to How to LMMS. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use VST plugins in LMMS. First of all, you want to go into Settings, click on the folder. Your VST plugin directory will be shown here. If you want to click on this, you can change where your VST plugins folder will be in your computer system. At the moment mine is in Program Files, which I have open here. These are some VST plugins that I've installed. There are two types of plugin, which would be an effect plugin such as Buzzmaxi 3, or an instrument plugin like MiniGround. If you've changed your folder directory, make sure you restart LMMS in order to make the changes happen. Once you've opened LMMS, click on Instrument Plugins, select Vestige, open the instrument, and click the green folder to load your instrument.
Okay. I think I figured out how that works. Now on to my music theory.
Andrew, I just wanted to have this there so that all the students would have the same foundation before heading into the rest of the course, which is much more about music production and songwriting and mixing and that kind of thing. But when I finished putting this lesson together, it really felt like a great thing to just share for free on YouTube, a crash course on music theory. So I hope it's helpful for you, and if you're interested in a 20-lesson course about my whole approach to music making, more info about that at learnmonthly.com/Andrew. Here's the theory lesson. So what is music theory? It's essentially the language behind music. It gives you the tools you need to understand and interpret and communicate about music. Everyone in this class has mastered talking. Whatever your home language is, it's second nature to you now. You can use it without thinking about it, and it's an incredibly powerful way to interpret the world around you and communicate with other people, relate to them, express yourself. Music theory does the same thing for music. It'll help you understand how chords and notes and rhythms and melodies all work together, and as you get good at the language, you're able to use it really effectively without thinking about it. I hear from a lot of people that they get stuck in this place with music theory where it feels like it's just work and it's really cerebral and it's all about what key am I in and what chord is this and what scale should I be using, and I really want to stress that there is a place beyond that where if you use it enough it becomes as natural and fluid as talking. I know that when you're talking you're not thinking about, do I use past tense or present tense, or like, what is the word for this very common item that I use every day. You're a natural at it. You just look at this and your brain goes, ah, it's a cat. With enough experience, you can absolutely get to that same level of natural automatic use of music theory. Similarly, with language, sometimes we come across a word or a concept that we don't know, but we can learn it if it's explained to us using the words and the concepts that we already do understand. In music, if I come across something really advanced that I don't understand, it's the music theory fundamentals that allow me to figure it out and learn it and add it to my arsenal. So we're gonna start right at the beginning and talk about notes. What is a note? Well, sound is made up of vibrations, and our ears and brains are really good at interpreting those vibrations. When the vibrations are faster, we hear them as being higher, and when the vibrations are slower, we hear them as being lower. If the vibrations happen at a consistent rate, then we perceive them as having a consistent pitch or frequency or a note. So for example, if I play this guitar string, it's vibrating, it's physically moving back and forth, in this case 110 times per second, and that's quickly traveling through the air and reaching our ears, and we perceive that as the note, A.
So you're looking to make music? Well, Soundtrap is the perfect tool for you. Today I'm going to show you how to tune your vocals using...
Now, in case you aren't aware, the vast majority of popular music is made using only 12 notes. Almost all the music you've ever heard is made up of these 12 notes and how they relate to each other, because as a culture we've discovered that that generally sounds better than frequencies that don't relate together in that way. And there are actually mathematical ratios that explain why all those relationships sound good together, but for the purposes of this course we don't need to get into that. We've given the notes names so it's easy to refer to them, and the names relate to the layout of a piano keyboard. So the white notes are named A through G. The black keys are named relative to the white keys with the words sharp and flat. Sharp means higher and flat means lower, so for example with this note it's above an F, so it's an F sharp. But it's also below this G, so in some situations you'd call it a G flat. As you can see, there are a lot more than just 12 keys on this keyboard, but the same notes actually repeat themselves higher and lower. That's the one mathematical ratio that I'll get into here, and it's actually kind of fascinating, but our brains can tell when a vibration is twice as fast as another one. It sounds like the same note. If I play an A here and an A here, it's the same, but one's higher and one's lower. It's crazy. And by the way, this distance of going 12 notes up or down to the next identically named note is called an octave. The increment between each individual note is called a semitone or a half step, and the increment between two half steps is called a whole step or a whole tone or a tone. So music is then built on the relationships between these notes, and there are common combinations of notes that we call a key, not to be confused with the word key when we're referring to a piano key. A key is sort of like a guide of what notes will sound good together in a piece of music, and most pieces of music use only one key. If you remember when I said most songs don't even use all 12 notes, most commonly they would use 7, and that's because there are 7 notes in major and minor keys, which are the most common keys. So let's look at an example of a key. The easiest one is C major because it uses all the white notes. So when I play the notes out like that, that's called the C major scale. And the words scale and key are often used interchangeably, but for your knowledge, a key is more like the home base group of notes that a song is based on, and a scale is a set of notes that you would play in conjunction with that. So a lot of times you're playing the exact scale that matches the key that you're in, but sometimes depending on the flavor that you want or the genre that you're working with, you'll use a different scale over your home key. So for example, a lot of blues music is written in E major because that's like the standard tuning of a guitar, but blues solos typically happen with the E blues scale or E pentatonic minor scale. Those scales have some of the same notes as E major, but some that are different, and that's what imparts the bluesy flavor. But let's look at the C major scale again and the relationships between the notes. So if we're in the key of C, we call C the root note, and that's the note that we start the scale on. Notice that as we go up the scale, the notes have a spacing of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Starting here, you go up 2, up 2, up 1, up 2, up 2, up 2, and up 1. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That is the formula of a major scale. So if your song is in C major, you'll know that these are the notes that you'll mostly or maybe exclusively use because they'll sound better than the notes that aren't in C major. It's also common practice and really helpful to number the notes of the scale, starting with 1 at the root. So if C is our 1, then D would be our 2 or the 2nd degree or just the 2nd, E would be the 3 or the 3rd degree or the 3rd, and so on. Practice applying the major scale formula to a few different notes. Remember that the spacing between the notes in the major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So for example, if you picked A major, you would start on A, and you would move up a whole tone, so skip 1 and then play the next. That's B. Then another whole tone, skip 1, play the next, that's C sharp. Then just a half tone, D, another whole tone, skip 1, play the E, another whole tone, skip the F, play the F sharp, another whole tone, skip the G, play the G sharp, and then finally another half tone to get back up to A. Also practice identifying the notes, both using the absolute letter names that go with them as well as the numbered scale degrees that go with each key that you're in. In a major scale, each letter name appears exactly once, no matter how many accidentals there are, accidentals meaning a sharp or a flat. So to name the notes in an A major scale, we would start on A and go up alphabetically from there, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and of course G is the last letter that we use in music, so we wrap back around to an A over here. But we also have to add sharp to the names of the black keys, C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. So it's A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So even though these notes are C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp because they're a half step above C, F, and G, they're also a half step below D, G, and A. So you could call them D flat, G flat, and A flat. In A major, we use the sharp names for these notes. That way each letter name appears exactly once in the scale, and it makes it easier to remember and communicate about these notes. As opposed to if we use the flat names and then the scale was A, B, D flat, D, E, G flat, A flat, A, where you have skips between the letters and some of them repeat twice. So to name the notes in the major scale, you start at the root note and go up alphabetically, and that's how you know whether to name the black keys as sharps or flats. In a couple of special cases, you might even name white keys sharp or flat. For instance, if you wrote an A sharp major, your second note, a whole tone up, would be this, which is a C, but in A sharp major, we would call it a B sharp. Because of this, though, a lot of people prefer to refer to this key as B flat, which reduces the confusion of needing to use a sharp name on a white key. I know this is a lot of information, so don't worry if it takes you a little bit to get the hang of it, but that's also exactly why practice is important. Naming the scale degrees is much easier, obviously. The root note you picked is the first degree, and then you just count up for each consecutive note in the scale. So in A major, A is the first degree, B is the second, C sharp is the third, D is the fourth, E is the fifth, F sharp is the 6th, and G sharp is the 7th.
Okay, so C, D, E. So if we went D, whole, half, whole, half. So that's E, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E.
bet you $1 million that you could learn piano. If it takes you longer than 3 minutes to learn a song on piano, you need to watch this video. See, most people on YouTube are trying to learn songs with outdated sheet music, or even worse, those YouTube tutorials. Or maybe you even got suckered into buying one of those courses that put sheet music on a computer. But all of these methods suck because they force you to learn each individual note one at a time. That's like trying to read a book one letter at a time. It takes forever.
So the next big piece of the puzzle for working with notes and making music sound good is chords. Chords are just multiple notes played at the same time. They do most of the work of setting the emotion in the song and guide the listener through some kind of musical story. Since chords are made up of notes and notes are in keys, chords are almost always in the same key. If you randomly play a bunch of notes from C major, you're playing some kind of chord from C major. The most common chords contain 3 notes that have a very specific relationship to each other, and we call that the root, third, and fifth. So in C major, I can play the root, C, the third of C major, E, and the fifth of C major, G. And that gives us a C major chord. Root, third, fifth. You can think of this as playing a note from the scale, skipping a note from the scale, playing a note from the scale, skipping a note from the scale, and then playing another note from the scale. This type of chord
there, root, third, fifth.
chord is also called a triad. Now we can take this triad shape and move the root so that it's any other note from C major, and we'll get another chord from C major. So since this chord starts on F, it's an F chord, but here's where we need to get a little fluid with our lingo, because the root of an F chord is F, the third is A, and the fifth is C. But we're still in the key of C major, where C is the root, and F is the fourth in relation to C, and A is the sixth in relation to C. Don't worry if this is confusing right now. It's the kind of thing you get the hang of the more you use it, but it's definitely helpful to get used to the numbered relationships within chords as
He's got a really triangular eyebrow.
as well as how they relate to the overall key. So there are 2 really common chord types in music, and that's major and minor. People usually say major sounds happy and minor sounds sad, but there's actually a very specific relationship that makes up these chords. If you take a chord like C, E, G, that sounds happy, and it is indeed a major chord. And look at how the notes are spaced out. We start on C, we go up 4, 2, 3, 4, to E, and then we go up 3, 1, 2, 3, to G. So the first 2 notes are 4 semitones apart, and the next 2 notes are 3 semitones apart. That's the formula for a major triad. 4 then 3, major. If a chord is 3 then 4, it's minor. So in this case, if we change the E to an E flat, we've got C minor. So major and minor scales actually have a really tight-knit relationship. We say that every major scale has a relative minor scale. So if we look at C major and play that scale, just moving that down 3 semitones to an A gives us the relative minor, and playing the same notes but starting on an A gives us the A natural minor scale. So the relative minor always starts on the 6th degree of the relative major. Now going back to the key of C major, if you experiment with moving your triad shape around and you end up with the triad that starts on B, you'll notice that's a 3 then 3, and that's a diminished chord, and it's used so much more rarely compared to major and minor, that we're just not going to get into it right now, but it's there. So the relative minor always starts on the 6th degree of the relative major. Now going back to the key of C major, if you experiment with moving your triad shape around and you end up with the triad that starts on B, you'll notice that's a 3 then 3, and that's a diminished chord, and it's used so much more rarely compared to major and minor, that we're just not going to get into it right now, but it's there. Choose a few different major scales and practice making triads out of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th degrees. So for example, in A major, I would start on A, skip the next note in the scale, play the next note in the scale, skip the next note in the scale, and then play the next note in the scale. That makes an A major chord. The 2nd degree chord will be B minor, so you're playing the 2nd degree of the A major scale, skipping the next note in the A major scale, playing the next note in the A major scale, skipping the next note, and playing the next note. B, D, F sharp, B minor. And that's how you'll go up and construct all the main triads from A major. Also practice naming each chord. Name both the root note and whether the chord is major or minor. So going back to A major, our first triad sounds happy and has A as its root, which means it's A major. The second triad sounds sad and it has B as its root, making it B minor. Remember, you can also identify major and minor by the spacing of the notes. Major is 4 then 3, so if we start on A and go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we get C sharp, up 3, 1, 2, 3, we get E, so A, C sharp, E, that's an A major chord. If we change that to 3 then 4, A, 1, 2, 3, gets us to C, 1, 2, 3, 4, gets us back to that E, so A, C, E is A minor. Once you can identify all the 1st through 6th degree triads in a key, you have an amazing starting point for creating songs. You can even just pick 3 or 4 of those triads at random, play them in a row, and bam, you have a nice sounding chord progression.
Full, full, half, full, 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 half. Full. Full. full, full, half, full, full. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, or major, no, minor. Cool, cool stuff.
So you're looking to make music? Well, Soundtrap is the perfect tool for you. Today I'm going to show you how to tune your vocals using Auto-Tune.
So these scale degrees, the numbers that we've been using, are really handy because they help us understand how notes and chords function within a key, and they're also used as a shorthand for discussing chord progressions. They help us understand how chords relate to each other relatively rather than absolutely. So if you look at any major scale, we'll use C again as an example, the triads are major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. We don't need diminished. So looking at the chords starting on degrees 1 through 6 of a major scale, it's always major, minor,
Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. Oh, I want to go hear the diminished one here. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one should be the diminished one. This one doesn't sound that bad. The other ones sound not that great. I mean, you can kind of hear it. It doesn't sound as full.
minor, major, major, minor. There's a common shorthand where you write these down using Roman numerals. The number indicates the degree of the scale, and capitals are used for major chords while lowercase is used for minor. Let's look at another example with a specific chord progression, 1, 5, 6, 4. So if we're in C major, it's 1, C, 5, G, A minor is the 6, and F is the 4.
Oh, wait, hold on. It's a Beatles song.
1, 5, 6, 4, it has a certain emotional quality to it, and we can replicate that now in any key because we can think 1, 5, 6, 4 in that key. So for example, in G, we'll go 1, G, 5, D, 6, E minor, and 4, C. Same progression, different key. Now you may have noticed that both of these chord progressions contain both a C major and a G major chord, but in each key, those chords function totally differently. In C major, C is the root, G is the fifth. In G major, G is the root, and C is the fourth. As you use chords more often, you'll start to get familiar with what the degrees are in relationship to certain keys. And as you use the degrees more, you'll start to understand how the chords function. You'll know there's a certain sound when a 2 goes to a 5, or you'll understand the sense of yearning that a 4 can convey. By thinking about chords and notes as scale degrees rather than just the letter names, you're able to transcend the key that you're in and use what you learn in all keys. For example, if you only think about the letters and you find a chord progression you really like let's say E, F sharp minor, A, you don't have any way to convert that to another key. But if you think about that as 1, 2, 4, now you can understand how that could be played in any key. You could do 1, 2, 4 in D, 1, 2, 4 in A. And this is useful not only when you're creating music, but also when you're learning from other songs. If you can understand these scale degrees and decipher the songs that you listen to, you'll start to notice patterns. After all, you only have these 1st through 6th scale degrees that almost every song is using to build their chords on. So you'll probably start to notice, I really like songs that are around the 4, 5, and 6. Or I'm not really a fan of the flavor of a 3 going to a 5. By using this number system, you really allow so much more musical knowledge to accumulate and compound. Practice creating chord progressions based on numbers. Pick a random key and random number sequences between 1 and 6 and practice playing those chord progressions. So
Three, 1, 5, 6. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm gonna clone this one, and I'm gonna mute this one. Go mess with this. So first, they mess with the notes here. So we got B, full step, half step, full step, full step, full step, half step. And then we're gonna do halves here. So we're gonna do a 3. Start with this one. This one's a minor, this one's a major. See, we got 3 gaps here and 2 gaps here. Now we go to the 5, which is going to be another major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bam. 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 And then we go to the 6, which should be here. This one's going to be a minor, so like that. change that? Cool. I don't know. Now I imagine I probably go and make a bass that starts on the root, so it's like a bass that starts here, like, so maybe an octave down. It's too low.
So for an example, I'm going to pick a key that we haven't seen in this lesson yet. How about E flat major? The 1st through 6th degree chords are E flat major, F minor, G minor, A flat major, B flat major, and C minor. So now if we pick random sequences of numbers between 1 and 6, we can play them as chord progressions. So how about 5, 6, 4, 4? How about 4, 3, 2, 1? How about that example from earlier in the lesson, 1, 5, 6, 4? Also practice deciphering keys and scale degrees. Look up the chords to a song that you like. You can usually just Google song name plus chords and see if you can figure out what key it's in.
I got an email from this company called Unison, and they were like, "Yo, check out this MIDI chord pack." I said, "Nah, I don't use chord packs. I don't use MIDI chord packs because I put together my own chords." They're like, "Yo, just check it out. Trust me." Then I checked it out, and I was like, "Yo, what?"
Yo, what? All learn about music chords here, guys. We're doing it. So we do 3, 1, 5, 6, 3, 1, 2, 2, 6. Three, 1. I didn't like that.
With our triads, we've covered the really important chord fundamentals, but I also want to talk about inversions. So that's when you change the position of one or more notes in the chord so that the root is no longer the lowest. So if we look at C major, C, E, G has C at the bottom, but what if we move it to the top? E, G, C. Or G, C, E. These are the same notes, so it's still a C major chord, it's just inverted. This is handy because with chord progressions, it often sounds better to find inversions that have the notes closer together rather than what we were doing before, moving the triad shape all around. So for instance, we played that 1, 6, 5, 4 in G, G, D, E minor, C. why don't we move some of those chords around? Why don't we make some of them into inversions so that the notes are closer together and maybe we can find something that's easier to play and that sounds better. So I think I'm still going to start with this G triad. This is called first inversion. Now, to move to a D next, I think instead of playing it up here with this F sharp and A, I'm going to move both of those down to this octave and play this D. So now we're going from G to D. This D stays the same, and the B moves to an A, the G moves to an F sharp. It's a really nice movement from G to D in that inversion. Now from the D, we want to go to an E minor, and I think the most natural thing to do would be for these notes to move back up to G and B, because those notes are in E minor, and then we'll play this E up here. That's probably the most natural movement from this inversion of D to go to an E minor. So our whole progression right now is... And from this E minor to go to a C, it's super easy because, again, E minor and C share two of the same notes, so we just need to move this B to a C. And so now our chord progression, which before sounded like this, has become this. It's nicer, it sounds more natural, and it'll also fit better with other instruments as they all occupy a bit more of a consistent range for themselves. Another thing about inversions is that they'll subtly change the flavor of a chord, and we can emphasize this by reinforcing the lowest notes of our chords. So for instance, let's stay in G, let's play a 1 to 4, so G to C. With the added lower octave. But what if I use G in second inversion with the B at the bottom of the G chord to move to that C? Now if we reinforce that with the lower notes, I've always really loved that flavor of a 1 moving to a 4, but having the third of the 1 in the bass. Try making a few different chord progressions, and this time use inversions so that they're a little closer together and not just the same shape moving up and down the keyboard.
What the heck? I think I was getting at something here.
So you're looking to make music? Well, Soundtrap is the perfect tool for you. Today I'm going to show you how to tune your vocals using...
You now have the knowledge necessary to pick a key by picking a root note and finding the other notes in that key using the formula for the major scale. You're able to make chords out of those notes, and you're also able to call those chords by their numbered names and make chord progressions. The next step is to look at melodies, which are single sequences of notes played with the chords, usually above them. This is usually the thing that you would sing along to in a song, but even in instrumental music, there's usually some kind of lead melodic part that's the most interesting and the thing that's the most memorable for people. To create a melody, you already have all the raw ingredients. You can just start stringing together notes that are in the key that you're in over top of a chord progression. But there is a really interesting interplay between what notes you're playing over which chords. A lot of it has to do with tension versus stability and whether the note in your melody is a note that's in the chord that's currently playing. Melodies that only use notes that match the chords are usually pretty bland. And it tends to be more interesting to use some notes that are outside the chord. Typically these are passing notes, so notes that are in between two notes that are in the chord. You could even have a melody where none of the notes are part of the chords that they're played with. But that's pretty uncommon, and typically you are playing with this tension and release of involving melody notes that are part of the chord and not part of the chord. As one little tip, often you would end on a note that's within the chord rather than ending on a note that's not in the chord. Another little shortcut to melodies that mostly sound good is if you use the major pentatonic scale. So if we look at C major, and we remove the 4th and 7th degrees, so that's F and B, then we just have this. And if you play melodies with those notes over chords from C major, typically it'll sound pretty good. That's because overall those notes are the most stable over most of the chords. Pick a key and create a chord progression in that key, then record that into your music software. Once you have that, try to play some melodies over it, thinking about what notes are in the chord that's currently playing, and maybe some that aren't, but that can resolve to notes that are in the chord. Also try removing the 4th and 7th degrees from your major scale to make a major pentatonic scale, and then try playing melodies using that scale. You might find that it's even easier to get something sounding good. For a quick example of finding a major pentatonic scale, why don't we look at the key of F. The notes there are F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. So if we number those, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B flat is the 4, E is the 7. We'll take that out of our scale, leaving us with F, G, A, C, D. That is the F major pentatonic scale.
got an email from this company called Unison, and they were like, "Yo, check out this MIDI chord pack." I said, "Nah, I don't use chord pack. I don't use."
The last component of theory fundamentals is rhythm and how to count it. How do you tell when things are played, whether that's chords or melodies or drum beats? That's based on the musical counting system. Music is divided into equal-sized portions called bars or measures, and typically in Western music you'll have 4 beats to a measure, which we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So if one note is the length of a bar, we'd call it a whole note. If it's 2 beats, which is half of the bar, we'd call it a half note. And then each of those 4 notes that we were counting as beats in the bar are quarters of the bar. Those are quarter notes. So you can have sounds, instruments, whatever, playing on these beats or anywhere in between them. And if something is on the beat, then we would say it's on the 1, for example. But if it's in between these beats, then we need to do what's called subdividing, which is like increasing the resolution of our counting. If we subdivide beats in half, we count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and those ands are exactly halfway in between each of those beats, so now that resolution is 1/8 notes. We can subdivide further, again getting exactly halfway in between our main beats and our ands, so that would be 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So that puts us at 16th notes, and even though you can keep on subdividing forever, the main parts of songs are usually not played any faster than 16th notes. And this really is a pretty universal system in Western music. If you're talking to anybody who's had some music education and you say something is on the 2E, they'll probably know what you're talking about. So getting used to using this counting system will allow you to play music better because you'll be able to better feel where you are within the beats. It'll also allow you to interpret and decipher and remember different kinds of rhythmic material because it gives you a structure for those rhythms to live in. So let's say you're out and about and you get an idea or you hear something that you want to try but you can't actually make it right then. You can make a quick note of it using this kind of rhythmic notation. Let's say we had a beat idea that was like we could jot that down into this number system. I've made this one a little pretty for the video, but you can do this really quickly, freehand. I do that all the time. So I've got kick, snare, and hat here, and then a grid of 16 spaces lining up with our 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Well, I know that the snare is on the and of 1 and the 4. I know there's a kick on 1. So it's gonna do 2 and 3, and then the hi-hats are 1E and a 2E. I think it's on the 2E. Yeah. Yeah, that's our beat idea. And the first few times you do this, you might have to really slow it down and be counting along really deliberately and finding those beats and where they line up to what you want to do. But as you do this more and more, you'll get way better at it. You'll get way faster at it. You'll just know what it feels like to be on certain beats, and you'll know how to make note of your ideas. Or, again, this grid is just like your DAW. You'll know how to input those beats into your DAW really quickly. For practice, take a song that you like and select an element like one line of melody or a drum beat and see if you can write out its rhythm using this basic 16th note notation. All right, I know that's a lot to take in. Definitely. All right, I know that's a lot to take in. Definitely try to make some time for those practice exercises, and of course, come back to this video as much as you want to use it as reference. If you're interested in videos like this, but about writing and producing and recording and mixing and mastering, I have a very comprehensive, interactive online class that runs a few times a year. Again, you can learn more about that at learnmonthly.com/Andrew. Music theory is the best. I'll see you in the next video.
I bet you $1 million that you
Wow, I know everything about music now. I can do it all. I can see it all. I'm gonna say that is done. Cool, I'm on a good path. I'm gonna save this or something. Save this somewhere? I don't know. Documents, LMMS projects. Learning chords and melodies. Saved. Boop. Leave that. Okay. Oh, the TED Talk thing, that was an ad.
Hey, it's Andrew Huang.
I was watching this video. The TED Talk thing was just an ad telling me that I can learn how to play 160 songs in 45 minutes or some crap like that. Thanks for the first time comment, by the way, Electrancy. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna be done for tonight, but let me make note of some of my accomplishments or something. So I started off by researched ancient Roman music, learned what kinds of instruments the Romans used. I suppose before that a bit, I decided on using LMMS as my digital audio workstation for game music. Downloaded a VST called Spitfire Labs, which has really good sounding stuff. Watched a video on music theory. Learned about scales. Text is hard to see. Here we go, I'll zoom in like that. Learned about scales, chords, and inversions. Made a chord progression in B major with a melody on top. Next time What did I want to do next time? Oh, sure. Yeah, the
You ever wondered what?
Nice. Got Chris Pratt here in an ad. Chris Pratt's body. There. That's the YouTube video I was watching.
Actors and actresses do when they have to get in shape really fast for a movie?
Hey, it's Andrew Huang.
It's by this guy, Andrew Huang. Liked it. It's a long video, but yeah. Thanks for the follow, Electranti. This guy's makes it pretty clear. I know very little about music. I played piano when I was a kid for like a year, maybe. And I understood the first bit he was getting at, and then it started getting pretty tough. But if you have a keyboard or an electronic keyboard, or like a virtual one to play along with, oh, you know what you're doing. You got 20 years on you. So next time, learn how to make music sound like it belongs in the same product. I want to make sure that my game music sounds like it all belongs to the same game. So that's what I'm going to look at next time. I don't know quite where I'm going to start for that. Probably just copy pasting that into the search engine and seeing what I find. I was streaming music production and visual effects before, but I realized game dev coincides with that. Yeah, well, yeah, it coincides pretty well with both of those things. You definitely need to have visual effects for video game development, and music production's pretty high up there too. If your game is silent, it's not super interesting, so code the visual effects from scratch. Cool. Yeah, I'm a programmer by trade, so that's my wheelhouse, and I've got to learn a lot about making music and making art for my game. Yeah. Well, I've been going for like 3.5 hours, so I'm going to sign off, but if you want to see other stuff I've been up to, I've got YouTube channel. There's a link to it in my Twitch description. Mostly I just upload my live stream, so a lot of them are really long, but I do have some shorter update videos and some other tutorial type stuff on there. Hopefully you can get the idea of what my game is all about, if that interests you. But yeah, thanks for joining, and thanks for raid ? I can raid someone, I think so. Oh yeah, let's raid Shmoo. Thanks for watching, and have a nice night.